Greetings, my human friends. This once more is Rudolf of Germany, the tall white alien. Yes, finally, the US government, the Pentagon, yes, finally, in the foreseeable future, they will open up 5,600 pages of UFO sightings and evaluations. Even for the American and other governments and the Navy in this case, or even the Air Force, yes, UFOs have always been a question which has never been answered. What is a UFO? I have made videos in the past trying to explain it. You have to first understand that people of Karl's origin, the Germans, were the very first ones who were able to create flying objects, aircraft, which was defying gravity. And that was done more than 70 years ago. And to the end of the Second World War, these aircraft had to be hidden. And where to hide an aircraft better than since the tall white aliens always were being friends with Germany, where to hide such aircraft, such superior technology better than at the Earth base of the tall white aliens. The Antarctica has certain parts which are off limits to any kind of state, any kind of government of any nation on earth. Yes, the Russians, the Chinese, the Americans, the English, the French, all of these nations know that on the South Pole there is a very vast station which belongs for thousands of years to us, the tall white aliens. And they don't even come close. They have tried it after the war, and they have had a bitter lesson which they had to learn. And this lesson is still in the back of their heads, and they know there's no such a thing as coming even close or entering our underground fortifications. Well, the man-built, or in this case German-built UFOs, which by now are being outdated because new models have come out over the years and the decades. Yes, they are still in an art of museum underground of Antarctica. And they are basically only being used to transport humans, human citizen or hybrids of a high DNA grade which are mixed with our blood. Yes, these people have to be transported around planet Earth, and materials have been transported around planet Earth because people in the flesh have to be provided for by us. It's a small group of a few thousand people, of course, but they have to be taken care of. They have to be put into safety if necessary. There always have been some of this material, earthly material aircraft in service, and they still are. Now, but there is something else about the UFOs which are very hardly ever talked about by my own kind, the tall white aliens. And these are the interdimensional aircraft. That's the ones we, the tall white aliens, use in order to contact people, creatures on planet Earth and other planets. Yes, we are traveling, certainly, and we are interacting, certainly, with creatures of other planets than our own by mind control. And that is our preferred method. But besides mind control and the traveling of mind, we have to have an interdimensional way of personally being transported from one place to the other. We are not living in the same dimension humans live, even if there are thousands of dimensions where humans live next to each other. I have explained that already. But even then, we're living always in a dimension which is not possible to be entered by humans. It's a parallel world which we live in. But we have learned the technology, we have learned the techniques to communicate, to get in contact with various species on various planets. As I said, the physical form of our hybrids have to be once in a while, very rarely, transported from one place to the other with non-conventional aircraft, which is super fast, which is the German Luftwaffe, which has created them just in the last few years before and during the Second World War. Yes, we use these aircraft still. They are good enough. 40 to 50,000 kilometers per hour, well, that's quite something. You can go around the world in a very short period of time, and no aircraft of the Americans, the Russians, or anybody else can even come close to the speed or shoot us down. So for that, as I said, we have the conventional German aircraft from the Luftwaffe still in duty. And then besides that, we have contact like Karl has with Rudolf by mind exchange, by using several different hybrids which are medium, which are there for us to communicate for you. But besides that, we also use our interdimensional aircraft to transport ourselves from one place to the next. And this is the interesting part. If you look at UFO footage on video, you can see aircraft of ours in various forms, extremely large, extremely small, the most unusual forms. But you never ever see them clearly because they're interdimensional, and even if they are very large and powerful and you can see the outline somehow, you will never ever get a photograph or a piece of video which shows one of our interdimensional aircraft as you would see an ordinary plane, for example. Over cities in Europe and America, there are very large UFOs, interdimensional aircraft. You can see parts of it, you can see the outline, and yes, you wonder, strange, we can see the whole thing. Millions of people see it. Over Brussels in Belgium, there was a huge aircraft, almost as big as the city itself. Tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people clearly saw it, but never just as distinct and clear as you would see an ordinary airplane, for example, or anything. And the reason for that, and that's what nobody has ever told you, is that it is still, even if it is big and partly being seen, interdimensional. Interdimensional objects cannot be seen in another dimension as clear as you would see it if it is basically built in a specific dimension. If something is built in the dimension you live in, you have a clear idea how it looks. You can go very close with a microscope. You can knock your head on it. But in an interdimensional object, this is not possible. It is just faintly to be seen if there is a mix-up in dimensions. Often it still happens because of certain mistakes maybe our pilots make, that they fly through the skies on Earth, normally never seen by anybody, but then they are not adjusted right dimensionally, and people on Earth can see the outlines of our aircraft. And that's the reason you're never seeing it clearly at all. So distinct between man-made UFOs from the German Luftwaffe, or you distinct of interdimensional, tall, white alien aircraft, which you in most cases ever see, besides if there is a small little mix-up in dimensions. And that, I have to tell you, before you get the report of the US government, these 5,600 pages they have, which explain to you how much by now they know about UFOs. So when you read these or you see it or the report comes out, you know exactly what to think about it. Because they still don't have a clue. They only know they cannot go to Antarctica in special parts of it. Sure they can go, it's a huge continent, of course. But our part, the tall white alien part of Antarctica, this part is only for us. There we got our old-fashioned, in this dimension by Germans created UFOs, and all the other ones, which they see all the time, some kind of a form which is kind of blurry. They will never know what that is, because we do not allow it. Rudolf of Germany.